The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Oh, great to see my friend on a Monday morning. A lot of Anik and Florian podcast listeners, by the way, in the Phoenix area, Ken Flo. One of them came up to me and said, so how did you and Kenny, become best friends? Is it just because, you're from the same area? And I'm thinking, man, I hope he considers me his best friend. But there got to be people that he likes better than me out there.
That's awesome, man. Of course you're one of my best friends.
I have certainly passed
man.
Kurt.
It was a good night.
I've certainly passed Kurt Pellegrino at this point with respect to Kurt. At this point, if there was a replacement groomsman last minute, Pellegrino is not getting that fucking nod. But that's a story for another day. And our longtime listeners, all of you out there in Phoenix, know exactly what we're talking about. It's Monday, June 14th, episode 304 of the Anik and Florian podcast. A lot to get to today. So Terrence McKinney wanted to go on the Joe Rogan Experience. A lot of people wanted him on our show after the 7-second knockout. I have reached out to Terrence, so hopefully in the next couple weeks you will hear the Terrence McKinney story, and it is incredible. But a lot to get to today. We will recap UFC 263. We'll get Ken Flo's thoughts on Claressa Shields' win in her mixed martial arts debut. Some Ken Flo tweets, time permitting. Ken Flo also solicited your tweets, some of which are quite good, so we'll get to some of those. And then, of course, a few predictions on the way out for UFC Fight Night, the Korean Zombie versus Ige. But we begin with headlines and our recap of UFC 263. And there are any number of different ways in which we could begin today. We could certainly begin with the main event or with Nathan Diaz, but of course we are going to begin with Tijuana's Brandon Moreno, the first Mexican-born flyweight champion in UFC history. It did not take them long to put a mural on the wall, and what an incredible rise to glory, to superstardom. This man is going to be a millionaire. He is 27. He has 3 daughters living in Las Vegas, and he effectively changed his life forever with not just this win, but with the 6-month commitment to become the best version of himself that ultimately led to this W over the weekend.
I love what you said, and I love that you're starting with Brandon Moreno because, in my opinion, on a night of a ton of superstars, for me, he emerged as the biggest star of the night. Okay. When I think of Brandon Moreno, I think of the guy who was on The Ultimate Fighter. I think of the guy that, he's a nice guy and he fights, but I don't know if he's going to make it in the UFC. Right. And then he was actually cut by the UFC.
Right.
Comes back, and you still kind of consider him the nice guy, great guy. He's out there. He's fighting his heart out. But I don't know if many people really saw him, even when he came back to the UFC, as the guy who was going to be a champion in the UFC. His last fight against Figueiredo, you see it, and you see it that it's very apparent and very possible. And then he comes in and delivers maybe twice as good of a performance that he did last time. He won every single round. He is a study in beautiful fundamentals. He does all the little things properly, and he was consistent. He was persistent. He was aggressive, and he put on a show because of it, man. What a stud. I'm so happy for that guy. And now he's that great kid who happens to be a great fighter and is now a world champion in the UFC. It's an amazing story.
There were a lot of people who doubted Brandon Moreno, not just this night, but over the course of his career. But even going into this fight, UFC President Dana White said at the post-fight press conference, I just didn't see how Brandon would win. And Chael Sonnen said, I thought he was a decent fighter who had a good fight in December, but he didn't think he was a great fighter.
Right.
Oftentimes, we are able to glean a lot from these fighter meetings, and not since our fighter meeting with Jan Blachowicz on Fight Island last September in a championship setting did I come out of a fighter meeting almost knowing that a guy was going to win a fight. And then when Deiveson Figueiredo pushed Brandon Moreno at the press conference on Thursday, and I saw Brandon's reaction, it was like game over. I have a lot of insight on Brandon just having spent fight week there and spent some time with him and his manager, Jason House. And by the way, congratulations to Jason for breaking through and getting a UFC champion. He has one of the biggest rosters of UFC clients, and now he can lay claim to having a UFC champion. But Brandon Moreno is the nicest guy on the roster, right? The type of guy that you would think would enjoy his Christmas with his 3 daughters. But after that fight last December 12th, he was too hyper focused on this challenge because he knew he was this close to Davison Figueiredo, and he knew he only had 3 weeks to prepare for that challenge and hadn't presented the best version of himself. He literally used every minute, Kenny, of those 24 weeks to put himself in position to maximize this opportunity. He added muscle mass. And when I think big picture about where he was, I don't know if you remember the post-fight interview I did with him in his UFC debut, and he said, Dana White, 50 G's, right? Interpreter in there, couldn't speak English fluently. Now he's fluent in English. He's one of our UFC Spanish analysts. He made this decision to move to Las Vegas, bought his house sight unseen. He said to Jason House, yeah, if it's good, just buy it, whatever, make an offer, right? And he still has to defend this belt once or
Right.
twice, I would think, to realize the millions. But the potential in Mexico for Brandon Moreno after this accomplishment, Ken Flo, really is endless, and it truly couldn't happen to a better man.
No question about it. I think that Mexico has been looking for their star in mixed martial arts to finally push through. They've had them, but none that have become a champion in the UFC. Mexican-born anyway,
Right.
and for him to get it and finally achieve that, I think there's going to be so much energy behind him. The Mexican fans, of course, are such rabid fight fans, and to have a guy who really is the epitome of that kind of fighting spirit, which the Mexicans are so well known for.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And he's a great kid. You would never think that this kid is the guy who's going to be in your face and bring the fight to you, and he's going to be technical everywhere and consistent. I love it. And I truly believe he's going to be a big star because of it.
The jab, the speed, the submission game, a lot of potential, still developing at 27 years of age. Cody,
Yeah.
perhaps you can put the flyweight top 5 in the private chat as we continue here on Brandon Moreno as we spin this thing forward. And firstly, I do want to say about Davison Figueiredo, it seems as though the public is a little bit split as to how genuine he was being after the fight. I need to tell you that he was being genuine, right? Like Davison Figueiredo displayed a lot of class after the fight. I believe, Kenny, that Davison was genuinely happy for Brandon Moreno because he knows how good a man and father Brandon Moreno is. So, yes, I don't love when the losing fighter like lifts up the winning fighter most of the time, but Davison was trying to be genuine in that moment and congratulating his opponent. On the Figueiredo side, he did use his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan to try to preserve a trilogy here and set up a third meeting with Brandon Moreno. And I think given the promotion's respect for Figueiredo and given the body of work, I can understand why they would maybe move to make that trilogy. The big concern for me is that there have been health issues with Figueiredo. You don't know if these illnesses are inexorably linked to his weight cut per se,
Yeah.
but I kind of feel like Figueiredo should move up to bantamweight, and instead he's trying to preserve this trilogy. So without an obvious name, you have Askar Askarov, Alexandre Pantoja, who, by the way, is the only man to finish Brandon Moreno, but that was on
Yes.
the Ultimate Fighter in an exhibition. Uh, where do you think they go from here? Do you want to see a trilogy? Do you want to see Figueiredo still at 25? I just think there are a lot of unknowns, but if he's committed to flyweight, I think they could move to do the trilogy.
I definitely think they could as well. Something was off with Figueiredo. To me, as soon as the fight started,
Yeah.
he seemed like he was distracted. His game plan was all over the place. It wasn't clear that he knew what he wanted to do against Moreno, whereas Moreno had a very clear game plan and executed it beautifully. So I don't know if Figueiredo was distracted by other things going on in his life. I don't know if maybe physically he wasn't there. I don't know if maybe he was satisfied with just being a champ and that was it. I don't know. Um, I love seeing new people get an opportunity. That's me.
Yeah.
However, I would love to see the trilogy play out at some point. Perhaps Figueiredo gets one fight in between. Just knowing the UFC, and if I am running the business myself, I probably would try to get a trilogy fight
Yeah.
in place, since the fight had just happened. You want to get it as quickly as possible because, again, with Davison, you never know what's going to happen. But it's probably going to take a meeting and a little talk to see where Davidson's head is at.
Yeah, I did not ingest all of Dana White's post-fight press conference. Perhaps he did address that situation, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there are options. I don't know if Askar Askarov right now moves the needle enough to get that championship
Right.
opportunity, but certainly would
Great
be
fighter, though.
worthy.
Tough guy.
And the thing that Cody Merrow, our producer, texted me immediately was, how about Moreno v. Cejudo in Tijuana? And I think that has legs as well, were Henry Cejudo to make a comeback. I know those guys have a positive history having trained together before, but
Yes.
that would qualify as a big fight. And big picture, just in terms of this Mexican breakthrough. Had a lot of guys with Mexican roots do really well in the UFC. Certainly the Mexican-American Cain Velasquez, realizing UFC champion. Kelvin Gastelum, you notice where I'm going with these pronunciations.
Yes, exactly.
Tony Ferguson, Alexa Grasso and Irene Aldana have done big things, but Brandon Moreno is the guy who breaks through, and hopefully they are parading that man through the streets of Tijuana when he gets home. But congratulations to the assassin baby, Brandon Moreno. All right, so Israel Adesanya over Marvin Vettori, third successful middleweight title defense for Izzy, 50-45 across the board. And yeah, I mean, Izzy, I thought he won their first meeting rather easily 2-1. He has improved exponentially since then.
Yes.
I thought he was going to be more dominant with respect to everything that Marvin Vettori brings to the table, and this was about as easy a fight to score for me as ever, 50-45. What'd you think about Izzy's dominant title defense over the weekend, kid?
Yeah, I thought much of the same. I think that Israel certainly had the ability to go out there and finish Vittori. A couple things. First of all, I think he was a little bit more conservative in coming too far forward with that same aggression that we may have seen in previous fights because of the threat of the takedown from Vittori. I think Vittori was wanting to hit a lot of those reactive takedowns. Those are the most effective ones, in my opinion. So I think he was a little bit cautious because of that. And Vittori is just tough as hell. Okay. This guy was taking a lot of damage to the leg. And maybe his movement was showing a little bit, but you never saw him grimace on his face, too much. He was eating a lot of those shots to the leg and showing how tough he was. And he was eating some shots upstairs as well. But yeah, I thought Israel won a very easy decision. He was dominant on the feet, of course. If they did go to the ground, Vittori really wasn't able to capitalize. And I think that's why I was kind of so confident about picking Israel Adesanya. Vittori isn't great at finishing fights. He's not great at getting those submissions that he needs and taking his opponent out. And he doesn't quite have, in my opinion, the kind of ground and pound that is going to knock somebody out repeatedly. So Israel was able to find himself in some difficult spots, was able to get out, was able to reverse, able to get on top. So I think this was a good fight for Izzy too. I thought Izzy made some mistakes out there, and I think he's going to learn from this win as well. So overall, a lot of positives for the champ, Israel Adesanya.
One spot for Izzy, compromising or otherwise, but Marvin did take his back very briefly. I don't know if it was a lack of positional awareness, but when you get Adesanya's back like that, that might be your only opportunity to win the fight. You got anything for me on what went so wrong for Vettori there, as Adesanya was easily able to sort of reverse him?
Yeah, his connection was off. You want to be able to have your hips connected to their hips, but also the importance of your shoulders aligned with their shoulders as well, and making sure your head is a little bit above your opponent's. And he was allowing Izzy to kind of basically turn and kind of create a T with his body and the body of his opponent, which you never want to do. Anytime, you're not able to align yourself and you start to kind of turn, and this starts to happen with your opponent, you're not having that solid connection, shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip. And Israel is able to turn because of it. And I think there was a little bit of confusion on the part of Vittori. And for Adesanya, I also thought that there were some things that were a little bit concerning in what he was doing. And I don't know on the feet. And I don't know if it was because he was trying to lure Vittori in, but I thought that he was staying a little bit too far in front of Vittori as well and kind of leaning back to avoid a lot of the shots. And he was a little upright because of it. And I don't know if he wants to take that approach against someone like a Robert Whittaker. And Israel is kind of like a chameleon. He will change his game plans and his tactics like a lot of the greats do, depending on the opponent. Maybe he just felt like Vettori wasn't much of a threat, but I was a little concerned that
Yeah.
Vettori was going to land something heavy there on Israel Adesanya. That never really happened. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty clean performance from Adesanya.
And Rafael Cordero in the corner of Marvin Vettori was just livid from really the opening minute. But after the first round, I don't know who else it was in the Vettori corner, but kind of lollygagging with the ice bucket. And Cordero, I'm looking at behind the scenes, he's like, "We got 60 seconds, man. Like, hurry the fuck up, you know?" And
I
then
love
I
that
do
guy.
believe that Marvin was a little bit delusional as to what was going on. And I know some people have criticized me for using that adjective. And again, Marvin is a friend of mine. And certainly if he's upset with that, he will bring it to my attention, I'm sure. But not unlike the first fight, Kenny, I just don't know if Marvin Vettori sort of understood what was actually happening here. And then when they're about to announce the decision, with all due respect to my paisan, it's like he's still pumping his fist, hoping they're going to call his name. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, you didn't win that fight, but we don't want to keep Ray Longo on hold. So let us get to the Ray Longo.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Speaking of paisans,
Oh, man. Hey.
Wow, somebody has figured out his lighting. Can you center yourself up though, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
because
how's
you look
that?
this
so
is the
good.
best Ray has ever looked.
All right.
So are those eyes
Figured it out.
yours? Are those eyes yours, or are those colored contact lenses? You look outstanding today.
Those are absolutely colored. What the
Unbelievable.
fuck is that? Colored contact lenses.
You
You're
never
one of
heard of
those
colored
that is-
contact lenses? No,
No.
these are my eyes. What?
Really? Well, what the hell's a colored contact?
I was just making a joke. Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus Christ. Hold on, no. We got to start off this show right. Are we on? Are we on?
Yeah, we're
are we-
live. There's no going back now.
There's no going back.
No.
I got one word. Where's my fucking money? That's what I want to know. Where the hell's the goddamn check I'm waiting for?
For all your
I
t-shirt
got
sales?
such a beautiful picture. I want to shout out to Michelle. She's a personal trainer in Houston. She goes by the name Inked Bikini. But she sent me a nice
Wow.
picture with my shirt, my face on the shirt. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's
All right,
going
so
on
here's the
here.
deal.
Yeah, Inked Bikini. Shout out to Michelle.
So if you don't
She looked
know,
beautiful. She looked beautiful in with my face on her shirt. That I don't know. I'm still wearing the same old shitty sneakers, man. I don't know what the hell to tell you. I don't.
I'm
As
gonna
long as they're not the clown shoes they made you wear that night.
Hey, wait, hold on. What were you confused about with Vittori? I'm confused that you were confused.
I was
Obviously,
I was
the guy's
confused as to why.
delusional. That's the problem.
Right. Well, hang on.
Something-
We'll get to that. I got to stay on the t-shirt thing for a second because I
Oh,
think
okay,
the
go ahead.
context of what you just said could be lost on people as if we owe you a bunch of money.
Yeah.
We launched Ray Longo t-shirts at AnikFlorianPodcast.com where we have a store and the t-shirt says, "I'm going to punch a hole in his fucking chest," right? And yes, they sold like hotcakes and they continue to sell and they're probably going to sell out. Whatever percentage you want of sales, just tell Ken, Flo, and Cody. We'll send it to you. Rest
Yeah.
assured. Like up to, I don't know, up to
Yeah.
50%.
What are you?
Like, of course. Of
I-
course,
At least,
we're going to
at
send
least
you the money.
1.5%.
Listen,
At
Kenny,
least
I tell you-
1.5%. I'm feeling generous. Yes.
When Joe Monarat shows up at his door, it ain't gonna be a joke anymore. It just won't be funny. See, that guy's laughing now. When that doorbell rings and it isn't Ian Parker, you're not gonna be happy. Trust me.
Where's the
The
check?
latter may not be showing up at my door.
And the
anytime
way
soon.
Florida's looking, that's not gonna be hard to get somebody to go to your house.
That's true. That's true. So,
What do we got?
yeah, but I mean, like the Vittori thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought you
delusional.
were delusional about the first fight, which I thought was exceedingly easy to score 2-1 for Izzy. And I don't know how you fix that, but I think for Cordero, Ray, I think it was a little bit difficult because his pupil not only was not able to execute what he wanted him to, but he felt like he was getting a lot of things accomplished in these rounds when it didn't seem to me like he was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a frustrating night for Rafael. I don't think he could have said it any differently. You know what I mean? Like he was imploring him to, to realize that he was losing the fight and what he had to do. But that's what it is. It really does come down to the fighter, Kenny. And he's really the ultimate guy to make the decision, and he just wasn't seeing it the way everybody else was seeing it, and it was actually frustrating. Then it was more frustrating, like you said, you know, when they're announcing the decision, you're like, "Man, is it possible that he just thinks he won that fight?" Like, I think it's scary more than anything. I
Yeah,
mean, I think that's a hard problem to fix.
absolutely. And I know, I'm sure Ray has seen this. Listen, there's levels of awareness. There's the guy who thinks, they're training their ass off for a fight, and you're like, you're not training hard.
Huh.
You're training,
Right.
you're training 4 times a week. And you guys, oh man, I'm killing the training. Oh, this is
Uh,
the best training camp of my life, or I'm right on weight. And you're like, you're 30 pounds off. Like people, I don't know if it's like the narratives that they have in their head, or, they think that they're winning a certain fight. Like, yeah, I was really confused by that as well. That could be a part of the problem in how he prepares for fights and how he executes during a fight. He's seeing something that just simply isn't happening. So, that's something that needs to be rectified by Marvin Vettori and Marvin Vettori alone. So that's something that he's just got to look at himself in the mirror and just be honest, and go back, watch the tape, whatever it takes, and maybe go through it with his coach and be like, this is where you fucked up. This is where you fucked up. This
Right.
is where you fucked up. This is why you lost this round. This is why you lost this round.
Right.
And kind of get him to understand those things.
yeah, no, which is not gonna be easy because he
Right.
could take the other route where he go, like he's mad at everybody in his camp for
Right.
thinking he lost. I mean, I
Right.
could see that
Exactly.
happening too. And
Right.
then you get, John, what's going to happen is guys on the outside now, those guys that are just waiting for adversity so they could jump in as the savior. Marvin, I think you were right. You're going to get guys now on the other side that are going to tell him, I agree with you. Those guys they're not for you, man. They're against you. They thought you were losing that fight. I was with you. It could open up a whole nother can of worms that as a coach, it's frustrating and you don't want to deal with it. But that could be another scenario, Kenny, where he gets people on the outside. Now's their chance to slip in there. They can get their 15 minutes of fame and they're gonna fucking pounce on it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that could be a problem too. So I hope, like again, Marvin is honest. He goes back and looks at it and he goes, "Man, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I actually thought in my
Right.
head it was better something. He's got to reconcile that whole fight though in his head, even, like one part after the Jan fight with Aljo, I go, just, where he was like getting taken out, I go, just tell me what the fuck I'm looking at. He
Right.
goes,
Right.
man, I don't know. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah, he was like, fuck, what the fuck was I doing? Towards the later part of that fight,
Right.
so, you need an honest dialogue
Well, right.
to
You saw
proceed
Hakeem
forward.
Dawodu this weekend getting dominated by Movsar Evloev because Dawodu, he's like, dude, I got all the fucking cardio in the world. Like, tell me what to fucking do
Yeah,
to
yeah,
try to
yeah.
turn this fight around, leaning on the coaches. Yeah. So,
Right.
all right. Well, I think Vittori sort of just by nature of the toughness that Kenny mentioned off the top. I mean, he's going to be around, and but you're right. He just has a hard time putting people away, and certainly was on the wrong side of this. I'm going to try to be economical because we have to get to Nathan Diaz, but Ken Flo very
Uh,
quickly. And then
Mhm.
Ray, if you got anything on this in terms of a rematch between Adesanya and Whitaker, because that will be the next fight.
Yeah.
Whitaker's a totally different guy than that first meeting. He truly is. And Adesanya, it can be said, is as well. But how competitive is that fight in your mind, Ken Flo? And do you have a lean for us, several months out?
I think that's going to be an awesome fight. I do agree with you that Whitaker is a different dude. I do not think he's going to take that same approach. I think it is very detrimental to Whitaker if he goes out and tries to take Izzy's head off again. I think Izzy shines. The more aggressive you are, and this is kind of the case with a lot of the great counter strikers, the more aggressive you are, the more you try to force a knockout against someone like Israel Adesanya. He's just too sharp. He's going to make you pay. I think he needs to let that knockout, if he wants it, happen more organically. He needs to come in behind that jab, use that karate style and that bounce, and try to get in and out. And then if he has the opportunity to go out and get it, but don't force it. He looked like he was forcing it against Adesanya, and that's something you just can't do. But that's absolutely the fight that has to happen. Whitaker has a hell of a chance. I obviously I'm going to lean towards Adesanya. due to his height and his striking experience. But Whitaker is definitely tough, and I think it's going to go a lot longer than the first time out.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kenny. I say that, Whitaker will change some stuff up, but that actually is the fight to make. But it's only because Izzy's just levels, he's levels above most of the guys in that division. They're not going to be able to give him a challenge. Whitaker is the only guy I see that could change up a couple of things and make it a competitive fight. And I think he will do that. Like again, he knows he got caught rushing in, and against a guy like Adesanya who has the reach on you, that's a major, major problem. But I do think that Whitaker can make some adjustments and really make it an interesting fight. So I think that is the only fight to make, believe it or not.
All right, looks like the early line, Adesanya minus 240, Robert Whitaker plus 205. We'll see if that tightens up. I can assure you, you're not going to get Whitaker north of plus 200 by the
Yeah.
time those guys fight. All right. Leon Edwards, the unbeaten streak continues 49-46 times 3 over Nate Diaz. There is obviously a lot to unpack when it comes to this fight. Ray, we will start with you. What did you make of what was the first 5-round non-title, non-main event in UFC history?
Well, I'll tell you, first off, I mean, look, hats off to Leon Edwards. I mean, I thought he had a great performance. Man, really crisp hands, man. He's fast, he's accurate. But man, this is why people love Nate Diaz, man. This is unbelievable. He was on the verge of winning that fight, man. And I got to say something. Listen, the last thing people are going to remember is the last minute of that fight with Leon Edwards on ice skates going around. I mean, if you're a Nate Diaz fan, 4 rounds didn't even exist. That's what you're going to remember is exactly what you saw at the end. And look, man, I think Nate and Nick, I've always been, I mean, I really do like those guys. Their authenticity is unparalleled in the UFC. And I'll tell you, they were authentic 15 years ago or so when I met them, and they're just as authentic today. These guys have not changed. Money, hype, fame. They're still down to earth, good guys, and that's what I love about the guy. And even the way he said it, man. In the real world, that guy's sleepwalking. Sleepwalking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and Kenny, that jujitsu. Those guys go by a martial art code. I don't even think they care about fighting. Fighting is a byproduct of martial arts. And,
Yes.
jujitsu was really designed to survive first, then win for a little guy to be able to be on his back and not get mauled by a bigger guy. And that's why I think even at the beginning, Nick would always not even think he lost the fight because that's what he was doing. So you give those guys an hour fight, they're a major problem. Like, how do you get rid of them? You know what I mean? So I love the way he put that into street fighting terms. Again, he put on a great show for the people. His fans. I mean, come on, man. He was the most popular guy on that card. I mean, I think that was pretty obvious, right? And again, I think the last minute of that fight is what people are going to remember. And unfortunately for Leon Edwards, who really was doing great, he was I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. They're going to remember that probably if that's what they want to remember. But just a great. I can't say enough good things about the guy. I think they're just authentic. I think that's it, man. They're not bullshitting. I don't think there's no show. They're not doing nothing for the cameras. It's to me, it's refreshing. I mean, when a lot of people in the business and like, Kenny was saying, even with fighters, I'm having a great camp. Who the hell is delusional? Who's doing this? Who's wants to jump in from the outside? Like I said, with Vittori, I'm sure he's going to have guys now trying to separate him from Rafael Cordero, and we'll see what kind of character Marvin has on that. But these guys are pretty true blue, man.
And that right there was the longest answer in the history of the Anik and Florian podcast. I mean, we're trying to be fucking economical, Chemflow. I'm just kidding, Ray. I love you. I'm just kidding. I said.
You're attacking me now.
A little bit. Everybody feels attacked on this show.
I was joking about.
I had said that to Ian Parker.
I was joking about the shirts. Slow down.
Oh, no. So,
hey guys,
Kenflow, Now that Ray is done, do you have anything for us?
I'll try to be economical. There's a lot
I'm
to
just
unpack.
kidding.
There's a lot to unpack here. Listen, the reality is that Leon Edwards did win 24 minutes of that fight. Nate Diaz, but that's not how a fight goes. You could have that one shot and it can change the whole fight. You knock him out, it's out of there. The problem is he didn't knock him out. And life is a paradox, right? Nate hasn't changed the way he is, but he also hasn't changed his fighting style. And I think that's what's also come back to bite him. And this is such a stupid thing to say in some ways, but if we took away Nate Diaz's perseverance, we took away his chin, what would happen to him as a fighter? You know what I mean? Where it's like skill-wise, if you're not improving and you are getting outskilled repeatedly, and this has happened over the last few fights, yes, it's probably a superpower, his chin, like his perseverance, his ability to just be tougher than you. But skill-wise, I haven't seen a Nate Diaz that is getting better. And that's a concern, because as much as exciting as that is,
right,
there's going to be repercussions for that style. Let's not get it twisted.
So, Ray, Kenny tweeted, oh, if that NFL game went another 15 minutes, and he tweeted this sarcastically, right?
Yeah,
Because there isn't any more time. And so then one fan writes back to him, they have overtime, motherfucker, whatever. And Ken Flo's like, dick fuck. It wasn't tied. It wasn't tied. Like Leon was up 4-1.
But again, as much as Nate hasn't changed, he has built an army of people that love him, and that's what you got to respect. And
For sure.
he might hit, if you think his skills haven't increased, he still hit that guy with a good shot, man. I mean, he did. He was able to land on a guy who's very, very highly skilled. And again, I think again that's what makes Nate Diaz. You know what I mean? It's the I kind of agree with you, but I think it's
to his credit, Ray,
I don't think he cares
he's
though.
fighting
That's the
elite
thing.
guys. He's
Yeah.
not fighting.
Yeah.
He's not fighting a middle of the pack guy. He's fighting Jorge Masvidal. He's fighting Leon Edwards. But I just hope that he's not going to pay for that damage. Because he's taking a lot of damage during these fights, and that's the concern for me, I think.
So when I started covering mixed martial arts for ESPN in 2007, as Ken Flo knows, Nick Diaz was my favorite fighter. If you read my old ESPN MMA live chats, it's all about the Diaz brothers, right? And the reason you do a tattoo bet on a podcast, right? You wouldn't do that unless you wanted the tattoo. And I tweeted this weekend, you wish you had a 209 tattoo. And I texted this to Ken Flo, but do you know how proud I am waking up with this 209 tattoo on a day like today? You know what I mean? Because I just relate to these brothers to such an extent. And it's not just the marijuana, it's everything that they are about. It's that authenticity, the realest of the real. I mean, that is Nate Diaz, who did say, Ray, at the post-fight press conference that he would like to turn this thing around in 3 or 4 months, and that his brother Nick Diaz is ready to go. He's just sort of waiting on something big. That'd be very exciting for the sport if these guys, would continue to compete, especially if Nate really is true to his word and can heal up and have another fight in 3 or 4 months, the way he did when he went Pettis Masvidal in 2019.
Right. No, he'll listen, perseverance, like Kenny said, but he had to persevere his whole career. Remember at the beginning when he wasn't getting paid and he was watching all his teammates make more money for him.
He deserves every dollar that he gets.
Yeah, exactly. That octagon again represents life, right? And this guy's going to persevere always. I really believe that he'll be fine. I think he's already proven that. And again, if we look at even Vittori, he's going to have to reconcile. Like he has more reconciliation to do than Nate Diaz has to do. Nate Diaz is who he is, man, and I think it comes with a take it or leave it. This is who I am, just like people like you. You can be friends with me, you cannot be friends with me. I don't really care, but this is who I am. They're always going to give you an honest answer on everything. I don't think, again, I've never had a bad conversation with either of them. It's always
right.
real. And to me, again, that's refreshing. And again, he's able to fight at the elite levels, at the style he does, and everybody respects it. You know what I mean? Like they're not go, you're not, you still got to go in there and do it against him. And it's not going to be easy because he's not going away. And if he gets you in trouble, just like, like again, all those other analogies are stupid. That's why I like the thing with the street. Like he's happy with that.
Yeah.
And that's fine, man, because I think it's funny.
And other than a title shot, Nathan Diaz can get any fight he wants in the sport, and anybody is
100%.
gonna
And he
sign on the
deserves
dotted line to fight him. So we'll see what is next, and maybe he'll see what happens with Dustin and Connor on July 10th. And certainly Nathan always has that McGregor trilogy in his back pocket. All right, in the nature of time, a few other things to get to with the great Ray Longo. And people are gonna be all over me for, criticizing the star of the show in any way, shape, or form. I
that.
just know it. I mean, the Longo
They
Army, the
definitely will
army
not.
of Minutemen. We're gonna do Minutemen T-shirts next. See, that's what I want.
Yeah,
More than the punch a hole in his fucking chest, just a picture of you with, like, the
yeah.
Minutemen trailing you. All right, so Matt
Oh,
Frevola
shit.
on the wrong end of one of the fastest
Uh,
knockouts in UFC history. And Ken Flo did tweet, hands up doesn't mean good defense. And
right.
he did that with all due respect. But Terrence McKinney is obviously the story here, but for your purposes, that had to be a tough one to watch over the weekend. Your thoughts?
Wow, what a horror show. What a
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
absolute horror show. Again, even when his opponent pulled out, I mean, last time he pulled out, and I know his father calls me and what do you think of this guy? And I actually, that other fight obviously was that matchup was brutal because that guy's wrestling is on point, and like even his fight with Islam, how do you
Mahash
pronounce his last
Tasha?
name?
Mahashev.
Yeah, was phenomenal. I thought it was one of the best,
Yes.
back and
Correct.
forth scrambling demonstrations you could see in a fight. So when this guy got removed, all his ups and downs and not having the same opponent,
So
I mean,
hard.
we definitely trained for Camacho. This guy came out, he's a southpaw. You got to make some adjustments on the fly. And look, that's what being a professional is. But I just, he's going to grow from it. I did have a brief, interaction with him after the fight, and he'll be fine. But he's gonna make a couple of adjustments too, and I'll be talking to him about that.
Yeah.
With this whole pandemic thing, man, guys are in Florida, they're over here, they're in Bay. Everybody's running all over the place, and now that we're getting back to normal, we definitely have to get the team back to normal. And I got to get Sever off his couch and back to cornering again. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
gotta make some
Yeah.
adjustments, or we're gonna run into some problems. I mean, because we got some at 55, that guy had great sparring partners for a McKinney, but
Right.
it was
Right.
that we didn't even use him. You
Well,
know what I
right.
mean? So it's kind of like again, it was quick, so it's hard to even make any
Of course.
assessment on
Of
anything.
course.
But
And I
I
do
know
want
what
to
Kenny's
add.
doing. Kenny's right too. Hands up doesn't mean mean good defense. I mean, guys like even covering punches, right? I go, you still got to be looking where they're coming. You can't just put your hands up like this and think
Right.
like the guy's going to go
Regardless,
away. You got to
same
be
here, man.
rolling, and you still got to be rolling and turning your body. People, this is a concept they don't really get for a while. So you're right. Your hands up doesn't mean what does that mean? You're not going to get hit? No, there's a million
Right.
ways of getting hit. So, uh, yeah, I just feel bad because of the last minute change.
Well,
Everything else.
that's the thing that I was gonna add is
Yeah,
that if you go to Tapology and look at Matt Frevola's last year and a half, it's insane. He's had 5 fights canceled, a couple against Roberts, a couple against Camacho, nothing easy about it. And I think that mentally he's tough enough that he'll be able to turn this around and spin it forward in a productive way. But you really got to feel for what his last year and a half has held.
no,
Hey Ray,
frustrating.
you got Longo Weidman MMA's Steve Lee competing this weekend. Is that
Wow.
correct? He is a
Yes.
longtime listener of the Anik and Florian podcast. So if you thought we were going to get through this segment without giving Steve Lee some shine, you're
Wow.
crazy.
I'm
Talk to
glad
me
you.
about Steve Lee.
No, Steve Lee, look, he's a big help in the gym. He manages the gym. The guy's helped me out. He's become my right hand man the last year. So he's had a great camp. I'm sure he's going to do fine this weekend because he looks great. We also have Anthony Delemy. He's always been Aljo's sparring partner
Yep.
and a lot of guys in the gym. He's just another killer coming up. Luca from Italy, Luca Finocchio. What a
Oh,
great.
Luca
Oh,
Finocchio.
no,
Sure.
no, give up you from you son of a bitch, you guys. Now he's mocking the Italians because Vittori lost. This you're gonna get canceled. You'll get canceled right off your own
You're
show.
right. You're right. You're right.
Get serious, right?
We
So,
are.
now you made me forget little Chris Pereira, but yeah, it's a great four really cool guys at the gym finally getting to fight again. So that's good.
And anything on Aljo and Jan? I obviously have been seeing an uptick in terms of Aljo's output and work in training. I mean, you think we see these guys before the end of the year?
Oh, I think we see him before the end of the year. I think
Outstanding.
we're looking at November, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, also on that note, it looks like, Marab has a huge fight coming up. Huge.
Yes, I do know about that, but my wife is
Oh, are we
so
allowed to talk about it or no?
I don't well, yeah, I mean, you can, I can't. If you wanna break
Uh,
that news, by all means.
I think
But it's
he's,
I want
looks
to
like he's
know.
yeah, it looks like he's fighting Marlon Moraes, at the end of
Wow,
September. What a
yes.
great fight,
that's
huh?
awesome.
Look at his smile. Look at his smile
I
on John's
like
face.
that.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh,
Call
yeah,
my
now
number, baby. Call
oh,
my number.
now we're friends
Yeah. Oh, we're all dude, hey, literally, if you look at the
again.
favorites
Oh, man, he's sensitive this morning. Holy mackerel.
no,
He,
no, if
I
you
he
love
look
to
at
hasn't
see it.
slept.
I love to see he's got some fight in him though, Kenny. He's barking at me a little. Oh my god.
the greatest compliment that I can give you, at least in terms of how I value you as a friend, is that not only are you in the favorites on my phone, but again, if I was having my second marriage, marrying my second wife this weekend, you would be a groom. I I put you
How
on the highest pedestal.
how dare you
Anik's
disrespect your
analogies are
wife
the best.
Christy like that? I tell you what, you're
Disrespecting my wife?
disrespect. Huh? You're not getting remarried, and Chrissy's not going anywhere.
That's
So
right. Well, let's hope
For
not.
the record,
Let's
no,
hope
hey,
he
listen,
told me he told me for his second, his third, and his fourth wife, he would have you.
yeah,
yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt,
yeah.
no doubt.
yeah.
First off, if you ever got divorced or something happened, God forbid, I wouldn't let you get remarried. Trust me, I'd be right there
Right,
telling you to go
That's
the
what
other
real
way.
friends do.
That's what
right.
real friends do. Right. Wait, hold on, guys. Have we mentioned the Islanders at all?
Ah,
Oh, geez.
How about that in your back pocket?
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations
What
to,
happened to that? We were just gonna breeze over that like nothing
oh,
ever
that
happened.
hurt.
Let
That
let's
hurt.
erase it. Kenny,
congratulations.
let's erase history. Why not? Just
Ah,
erase it. But
that was good. That was good. You're
forget
good.
about forget about the win, guys. Forget about the win. Did you hear the singing of the national anthem?
Oh my
Did you
god.
hear that patriotism at the Coliseum?
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
yeah,
That's all. That has nothing
yeah,
to do with the win.
Yeah,
It's
that was.
about unity, bringing people together under the great flag.
you're
No,
right. I
guys,
think,
you feeling me on this?
I'm feeling every party. I think even the legend Renee Rancourt, would have appreciated that rendition. But yeah, no, that was electric at the Nassau Coliseum. We
Uh,
congratulate the Islanders, who, by the way, are already up 1-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals
I
on the
hope they're
Tampa Bay
winning it all
Lightning.
now.
Did you know that, Ray?
Yeah.
Did you know
yeah,
that?
no, I
They've
didn't know
already
that.
right, you just right.
I didn't
But
even
we
know they won.
congratulate
I didn't even know they won. I just listened to the national anthem, then I turned it off.
you know, yeah. We congratulate, though,
What a bit
Brian Boom Kelleher, the true Islanders fan. Weidman, don't even come at me. And by the way, can Chris not, like, be sparring 7 weeks out from his broken leg? That has to be ill-advised by his
He's an
doctor and
animal.
head coach, I would think.
No, I
What's
heard
he doing? The bone is still there's still a loose bone fragment in his leg. Why is he sparring?
did he put up the video of him jogging around the track?
No, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know if you saw that yet.
Hey, hopefully he has his doctor's blessing, but obviously he's a warrior and we have
Nah,
the
nah,
utmost respect
he's
for him.
unbelievable. I saw him play sparring with Tom Lane, another guy, another Long Island kid who's training
Yep.
down in the Carolinas. He's gonna be fighting in a couple of months. He's gonna make his
Wrestled at Cal
debut.
Poly.
Cal Poly.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks, man.
That's it.
For all the contributions. Don't forget, if you want that Ray Longo merchandise,
Like,
it is on our website, AnikFlorianPodcast.com. He is at Ray Longo MMA. And if you have suggestions as to what percentage of sales Ray should get, you can hit that at AnikFlorianPod. But Cody will take care of you. Rest
honey, get
assured.
the car. We're rich.
Yeah.
You don't feel it, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Please contribute to the Buy Ray Longo a new caddy. Can we please get that fund going, Kenny?
Yeah.
Someone who listens to this show is gonna show up and just drop off a caddy at your house. Escalade or
Ray
something.
wants to buy some colored contact lenses.
The last thing, shout out, and I forget, I gotta go back and get his name, but whoever recommended this light to me on Twitter, man, this is a game changer. I could
How about
actually
that?
see myself on the podcast.
How much did that light cost? We would like to reimburse you.
That was under $20, I think.
All right. Well, we'll pay you 20 for the
Nah, it's
light,
all
and,
right. No, you
I'm
keep
serious.
it.
Ken,
That's
we're
on me.
gonna
No,
send you a check this week. We're just
the
gonna
light
send you a bonus.
the light's on me. Don't worry about it.
We're gonna send you a check this week, from Anik and Florian LLC to try to maybe reestablish some of the goodwill that expired on this episode. So, the check's in the mail. Belal Muhammad's joining us here shortly, so,
Oh,
we gotta let you
congratulations
fly.
to him. Very smart fight. That's a guy with a fight IQ at least.
There's no doubt about it. Hey, Ray, thanks, my man. We love you.
Hey,
We'll talk to
guys,
you next
Thanks,
week.
Ray.
take it easy, man. Awesome. I'll talk to you. Take care.
All right, there he is, the Ray Longo Minute, every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast, dating to episode 1. Today brought to you by our friends at Egg Weights. You see that Anik and Florian podcast monogram right on the Egg Weights, eggweights.com, at Egg Weights on social media. I love running with these things. It makes a 5-mile run absolute hell, but I've been running with the 2-pounders and living to tell about it. Ken Flo, very quickly, Dana White at the post-fight press conference suggested that Colby Covington is still the number 1 contender for Kamaru Usman's UFC welterweight title. Didn't seem like the boss thought Leon Edwards did enough to get that championship opportunity. Ultimately, it could be Usman who decides, but do you think it's going to be Covington and Kamaru next, and Leon maybe will have one more fight?
Yeah, most likely. I think that Covington, obviously, with their first fight and his ability to build up the fight, I think, looking at him, I'm sure the UFC sees that as the biggest fight they can promote right now.
All right, well, now joining us here on the Anik and Florian podcast, he is one of the best welterweights in the world. He will have a single digit next to his name when the new rankings are released this week. Also host of Remember the Show on this very YouTube channel. Belal, remember the name Muhammad. Wanted this Damian Maia fight, accepted it, dominated, and I got to think this fight went down largely the way he expected it to. Cody, do we have Belal? I'm waiting to see this man's face. Oh, the star of the show. I mean, this guy is a budding superstar. Hey, man.
What's up,
Congratulations. What a great win. Total domination. Your single leg takedown defense is a sight to behold, and so is everything about your game at this point. I mean, I got to think you're pretty satisfied having watched it back at this point with what you put forth this weekend.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Yeah, it's one of those things where you go in there, you always have a mindset of how you're going to do against Damian Maia. Like I always said, man, I can beat him. I can beat him. He loves the single leg, and my single leg defense, my takedown defense is like, I know I'm up there with the best of the best. And I always kept telling everybody that. And then like you said, I've been asking Maia for years just because I wanted to test it against a guy like that. And then to go out there and defend all those takedowns, it was amazing. Because then now, like, the world knows, like, all right, this guy could wrestle too. And that's what I wanted to prove.
How much were you asked about single leg takedown defense leading up to this fight?
I wasn't asked about that at all.
At all. I mean, I know we didn't talk about it in the fighter meeting. I had talked with Paul about it a little bit offline. But it's interesting, right? Because Paul didn't have enough good things to say about how strong a part of your game that is.
Yeah, it was like literally like everybody knows, like all my teammates and everybody knows, whoever go with me, they know, like, dude, they're like, you're impossible to take down with a single leg. And if he goes with that mindset of only trying to take you down with a single leg, it's not going to work. And for me, I love doing that because it gets guys more tired because I'll be like, all right, keep trying to take me down with a single leg. And they get gassed out every single time you do that. So it was working out perfectly the plan, except for when he got that first takedown, I was like, oh, crap. I was like, damn. But then it was like one of those, you're like, in my mind, I was like, crap, he got me down. But then I was like, all right, we literally been doing this all camp. Get up the smart way. Don't give up your back. Because that's what he waits for. He waits for you to panic a little bit, and then he jumps on your back, and then you're screwed.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. He did take you down briefly. What did that do for your confidence, though, once you got back to your feet?
It made everything like it made me know that I belonged in there, because it was like one of those where you sit there, you watch tape for him for 8 weeks. I've been watching him my whole life. You see him right when he got Masvidal down the first time, he dropped on his back and he stayed on his back the whole time. Like every single guy that he's gone against, like the top guy, Usman, he had him in a bad spot when he with that wizard. He had Gilbert Burns took him down right away, took his back right away. Right. So it's like you're looking at all those guys. When he gets that first takedown, he always gets you in a bad spot. And all those guys were always put in a bad position. I'm like, damn, all right, so what's going to be my bad position? But then I was like, you know what? Let's get up first. Let's not give him that bad position, and we'll be all right.
Yeah, it seems like you always have the right approach for pretty much every single fight. Your fight IQ, your ability to execute. In this fight, I think not only was your single leg defense on point, but also your ability to get Damian Maia tired. I mean, you were making him work for positions that he just wasn't going to get. Is that the way you saw this fight going down?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was being smart and not overdoing it.
Yeah.
My coach were always like, you have to you have to be you have to be annoying with your game plan more than he is with his game plan. We have to stay long. We have to keep moving, keep our feet moving, make him overthink. Let him, all right, he goes for a single leg. We're not gonna get pushed back. Don't let him lock his hands. Do not let him lock his hands. Do not let him lock his hands. And that was just our mindset of just like, all right, just get back to the game, get back to the game. And in the third round, I hit him with a really good cross. But you know how Maia is. You hurt him, then it's like you try to rush him, and then literally with the guy shooting 20 times on you, you're like, damn, you can't overdo anything with him because that's when he waits for that. And then if he gets you down, it's like you lose the whole round there.
Right. UFC welterweight contender Belal Muhammad with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. You can catch his show this Thursday night live on the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel. Oh, and speaking of which,
Whoa.
Yo!
I didn't want to wait till Thursday, so Jason Anik is with us.
And you know, Cody before I get to you two hosts of the show, what's up, Bully? Yeah,
What's
Bully.
up, brother?
Yeah, Bully. 6 in a row, baby. Yeah, Bully.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The real celebration is Thursday night, but I know Jay, who hosts the show with Belal, wanted to come on. And Jay, what is it like for you watching this dude? Because, dude, like, if Belal loses this fight, like, Thursday night ain't no fun.
Thursday night, we're taking off. We're taking off Thursday
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you asked how I was watching it, and it's like when the Patriots lose, I try and think about what it's like for the players and the coaches. Got to be worse for them than me. So when I'm thinking about, I was nervous as hell. You can be sure it's a different feeling. Even like Belal, the more I get to know you, to be honest, you're more like a brother, the more nervous I get as these fights come on. But dude, it played out. I haven't listened, so I don't know what you guys have been saying, but dude, it played out exactly how you expected it to. I mean, I can't tell you how often I heard you sort of describe what could happen. And bottom line is you got to get the win. You got to get out of there with the win. And you did, and move and keep the train rolling. I'm all fired up. And Kenny's probably fired up. Bitcoin having a nice day. It's a good day on the Anik and Florian podcast.
Jason's on fire today, dude. I love it.
Hey, Jay, go ahead.
No, I got so much. So another thing too, Belal, and dude, I'm so excited to see you. This is weird. I'm doing this on my phone. I usually got Belal nice and big in my face, but even if Maia had been successful taking you down, we don't know what would have happened on the ground. We don't know how quickly you would have been up or what type of success you would have had there. So, and dude, your flexibility with the leg in the air. I mean, I'm not kidding. Seriously. I mean, that was impressive how high that to be able to escape that. Dude, I mean, you did what you needed to do to get the win against that opponent. And a lot of what I sort of message Lou and you, it's all about the win. And that was the path against this dude. So proud of you, bro. I'll keep my mouth
brother.
now.
All right, Jay, thanks for chiming in. You can see Jay, by the way, on Thursday night on Remember the Show. Not that I'm trying to get you out of here. If you have something else to add, for sure. But I got 7 questions left with Belal.
Oh no, I'll get out of here. But congratulations, Flo, on the birth of your boy.
Thank you,
and
brother.
and I will just say one more thing. I don't know if I've seen Kenny face to face since your wedding, John.
Right.
But you and Kenny had just gotten to know each other, and it's sort of like me and Belal. Like I can't get enough Belal. I've only known him since September, right? But at John's wedding, I had to give a speech as the best man, and he had known Kenny 6 months maybe, and I had to give this speech, and I was real nervous about this speech, and I said, this is 10, 11 years ago. I was like, Kenny Florian should probably be up here. John already liked Florian more than me after 6 months. So
that's true. I was so happy that you dropped Ken Flo's name in that speech. I wanted everyone to know that Kenny Florian was at my wedding.
Exactly. But anyway, Bully, I'll see you in a few days. Love you guys.
All right, brother.
Appreciate you.
So a lot of people are bemoaning the fact that Belal didn't get the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, and that was really a byproduct of the fact that we had 3 5-round fights forthcoming and trying to maybe keep the in-arena momentum going. Nobody was more upset than me that you didn't get that opportunity. Thankfully, every time you get a mic, bro, pre-fight scrum, post-fight scrum, you're maximizing those moments. But to that end, your reasoning for taking the Damian Maia fight was twofold, right? You wanted to prove yourself in this stylistic challenge, but you also felt like beating a guy like that, who's a future Hall of Famer, would be a great legacy win that would get you that next big fight. So this does set you up now to get one of those big names. What is your prediction or expectation as to how the promotion is going to proceed with you now?
Honestly, I'm hoping I get a 5-rounder. I want a main event. I feel like it did, beating a guy like Maia, literally before the fight, I was listening to Chael Sonnen, and Chael Sonnen does a little spiels of who he thinks is going to win. He picked Maia,
He did.
But he was like, "Hey guys, I fought Maia before, and I don't like to bring it up because honestly, I never had a guy that I fought before that beat me that I would want a rematch with because Maia's one of those guys where like he's one of the hardest guys to fight for, and if he takes you down, it's over. And then like you're thinking that he can't strike, but this guy hit me the hardest I've ever gotten hit before, and I'm listening to it before I fight, and I'm like, oh man, chill, wait, what is he talking about? And then I drove to the arena with Jamahal. And the whole way on the way to the arena, Jamahal was like, "Yeah, bro, we're going against jiu-jitsu guys. They don't think we got jiu-jitsu, but we're about to kill these guys." And then he was the fight before me to get his arm broken.
Right.
I'm like, "What the fuck? What's going on right now?"
Oh my god. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but I was like, that was crazy. But then I was like, you know what? Let's do this. We got through it. And to beat a guy like that, I feel like I earned a 5-round fight. And I'm hoping, I just want to go upward. I'm hoping I want that rematch with Luque back. I feel like obviously Leon won. That's 10 in a row for him. But he's looking at Usman. But like,
yeah,
for me, honestly, if they're talking about Kobe next, like who's Leon gonna fight?
Right.
So, but it's like one of those where anytime I bring up Leon's name, people want to start crying, like, "Oh, why are you still thinking about him?" But I'm like, it honestly makes sense if you think about it. If they're gonna give Kobe him, who are they gonna give Leon?
Right.
Masvidal's not gonna fight him.
Right.
There's nobody else. Wonder Boy and Gilbert Burns are fighting each other. So if you're looking at that top, it makes sense. But
yeah, I mean, who know? I mean, you could get a main event against Colby Covington if Kamaru insists that he's fighting Leon. So I do believe focusing on the 5-rounder and the main event is smart, and I think that's probably what's going to come your way. That's very exciting stuff. All right, a couple more minutes here with Belal Muhammad, and again, I appreciate you joining us today. I don't want to keep you too long. So I got to meet your brothers. And that was very exciting for me. And of course, one of them, the first thing he asked is like, "Where's your brother?" I'm like, "That's a goddamn good question." But I didn't even get to mention on the air that your father was in the building to watch you compete live in the UFC for the first time because I think I was just so focused on the fight. I certainly had it on my notes, but that had to be pretty cool for your dad to come see you live for the first time and to not really have any moment of concern, right? To be able to come watch your son and have him totally dominate had to be pretty cool for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. Honestly, like literally everybody was texting me the whole time, like, he's having the time of his life right now. He's having the time of his life. And like we saw him before the fight. He saw me walk out. And I was able to shake up with him. It was like amazing, like, because he's one of the guys literally never goes anywhere. Like never left Chicago except for like Palestine or like going to family weddings or something like that. So like for him to be able to come and just like chill and relax with us. We tried to take him to Camelback Mountain yesterday. He almost passed out at like 5 minutes. They're like, "Yo, go back down, sit in the car, turn the air conditioner on." But it was cool to see him there, and like he was sitting there, he was yelling the whole time in the crowd, like "Viva Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas!" They're sending me videos. I was like, "Oh man, it's hilarious." But
well, I did
it
think
was
of
amazing.
him. I thought of him when I was told in my ear that we had to turn and burn, and that Rogan wasn't going in to interview you because I was just hoping that your dad was going to get to see that,
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So a couple more things. Are you at your new house right now? By the way.
No, I'm still at the hotel in
All right, yeah, because I thought you might.
Arizona.
All right, when are you going home? What are you still doing there? It's
I'm going
Monday morning.
tonight. That was the thing.
All right.
We wanted to do Camelback Mountain yesterday.
Oh,
So
okay. All
so
right.
I was like, all right, we'll stay an extra day.
Got it. So, publicly acknowledged by Teddy Atlas. I thought that was pretty cool as well to see him acknowledge your takedown defense.
Yeah, honestly, that was amazing to have a guy like that. I love it that he's starting to watch MMA more now. And then, like, he has a great mindset, great coach mindset. So to get respect for him is amazing.
So you see Damian Maia after the fight. Did you notice he's wearing a damn Anik and Florian podcast t-shirt? You're probably like, "What's going on here?"
Dude, I was like, wait, what? Is he trying to steal my job or something? What's going on?
No. Hey, we could have picked anyone on the roster to align with, and we chose you. We will see you Thursday night on Remember the Show. And one thing I want to just add here, Aaron Bronstetter, the great reporter, wrote on Twitter, Belal Muhammad is the first UFC welterweight to beat Damian Maia that has not fought for or won a UFC welterweight championship. I would add the word yet. So obviously some rarefied air. And in terms of your timeline, I'd imagine maybe September, October. Like, when would you like to get back in there?
Yeah, definitely September, October. I don't have no injuries. I was sitting there freaking hiking yesterday, so I'm feeling good. I got a couple guys. Ignacio just got a fight in August, so I'm gonna have to be right back in the gym helping him out.
Well, congrats on a big win. Can't wait to see those rankings. Can't wait to see the show Thursday night. And thanks for a few minutes, my man. Go enjoy it.
Thanks, boys.
All right, there he is, UFC
Congrats,
welterweight contender Belal. Remember the name Muhammad. So Dana White comes over to the broadcast booth, Ken Flo, after probably after Bilal's fight. And he said, "I just want to let you guys know that Jamahal Hill had a dislocation. They popped it back in. And Dana sort of insisted essentially that he's 100%. Now, I'm sure there's going to be an MRI to make sure there's no tendon or ligament damage, but
Right.
Jamahal was very encouraged as to how he came out of that. But as a credentialed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I would like to get your thoughts on Paul Craig, because he seems to be a real problem at light heavyweight. And Jamal Hill is a pretty good jiu-jitsu practitioner. That was his first martial art. He's been doing jiu-jitsu for like 18 years. He was no match for Paul Craig on the ground.
There's levels, obviously, and Paul Craig, so confident, in fact, that he just kind of dropped to his back very casually, kind of like, hey, I know something that you don't. And boy, did he go for it. He did a great job of controlling the gloves as well, and just was creating the right angles, whether it was creating that omoplata or going for the line, going for the line. He was nonstop attacking, and this is what is so exciting when you see a guy who has adapted his jiu-jitsu game for combat and not for sport. There is a difference, and man, he was just on fire. And it was nasty to watch, though, and I think there was a lot of incompetence on behalf of the referee, not recognizing
Yeah.
that there was a because it could have been bad. And dislocations, hey, it's not really a big deal. He'll have a sore arm, even though he's 100%. He'll
Right,
definitely
right.
have a sore arm for a little bit. Those aren't fun. The ligaments still get stretched in that process, and the dislocation isn't fun to kind of get put back in place. But yeah, I think he trial, of how aggressive he was and the way that he was controlling the body. Paul Craig, man, really impressed me. Definitely his most impressive performance.
Guy's a bonus machine. Can't believe Terrence McKinney didn't get one for 7 seconds. Shelby loves those jiu-jitsu guys, man. But no, congratulations to Paul Bearju Craig, who will get a big fight in that light heavyweight top 15. And can we put some respect on the name Brad Quake Riddell, please? I think he passed Nick Diaz as my favorite fighter over the weekend. One thing I thought was interesting, Drew Dober said pre-fight, Kenny, about this fight of the night with Brad Riddell, that even though they both are Muay Thai practitioners who come at the game from that perspective, that Brad Riddell didn't necessarily adapt his striking to MMA the way Drew Dober had. Those were Dober's words, not mine. But that's clearly not the case. What an effort from Brad Riddell. He had to lean on every skill he has, and that includes the intangibles, the heart, everything else. What'd you make of Brad Riddell over Drew Dober in the fight of the night?
Heart, determination,
Dude.
adjustments. In the first round, he definitely seemed a little bit tight. He seemed a little bit nervous. And Drew Dober almost made him pay for that, almost got him out of there. But Brad started to adjust. He started to relax, started to let his game fly. And I thought he showed a tremendous amount of heart in that fight, and you found out why maybe he started off a little bit slow. Obviously, had a heavy heart. Was
Yep.
dealing with one of his friends and training partners who had passed, and Israel Adesanya talked about it as well in his fight. But that's a difficult thing to deal with, man. And for him to be able to push through not only that experience of losing a great friend, but also having to deal with that adversity of Drew Dober just staying right in his face and almost
Yeah.
getting him out of there. And he relied on his grappling skills, which was
Yeah.
so cool
Yeah.
to actually have him survive. So I was really impressed by his performance. It was a great fight. It was a close fight, and he ended up getting it done.
I definitely thought Riddell won the fight. Significant strike efficiency. Riddell 64%, Drew Dober 43%, 5 for 11 on the takedowns. And I just love so much about this Brad Riddell. I would add to it, Kenny, that he's of this mentality that to be champion, he's going to have to beat Gregor Gillespie and Islam Makhachev. So instead of trying to handpick maybe the most favorable matchup in that top 10, he wants that Gregor Gillespie fight back. And he said to us, in mentally preparing for Gregor Gillespie, he just feels like that helped take a part of his mental game to the next level, right? For 8 weeks, wrapping yourself around fighting just the guy who is going to match you in terms of the conditioning and the cardio, the pace and the pressure and
Sure.
everything that encompasses a Gillespie fight. And that's the fight that Riddell wants, and they're both coming off wins. I think they're going to probably put that fight back together.
That's awesome. Again, it shows, what kind of mindset he has. I think he will be much better prepared the second time around. You could see that he's been working on his grappling skills, and he's definitely a fighter to watch, man.
So 155 pounds is in good form, and Brad Riddell is going to be ranked for the first time in his UFC career. Did you see the flyweight eliminator between Lauren Murphy and JoJo Calderwood? I believe you did, right? Because I think you pushed out.
I saw moments. I saw moments of it. Yeah, I was
I
kind of
think
on
you
baby
pushed
duty
out.
a little bit during that fight, but I did.
Okay.
Yes.
I think you pushed out a tweet that said Bruce Buffer with the cold-blooded fake out look announcement. Wasn't
Yes.
that the fight where
Yes.
he did it on?
Yes. I
Like,
was like,
of
what?
all fights to do it on, my man Buff, like, I mean, so I know the decision, so I can see that he's
Right.
doing this, right? But, I did watch the whole thing. Of course, I was calling the fight.
Yeah.
Lauren Murphy is one of my favorite people. JoJo Calderwood is one of my favorite people on this roster, top to bottom. So I say this with respect to Lauren Murphy. I thought JoJo won the fight 2-1. And
Really?
yeah, but Lauren Murphy thought she had banked 2 rounds and seems like maybe you would agree, yeah?
I thought Lauren won the fight, but I don't know. Again, I was kind of on baby duty during that
Fair
fight
enough.
and a
How's
little
the
bit during
baby
the
doing,
Riddell
by the way?
and Dober fight. He's doing good, man.
Not as
He's got a
easy as
good
your
cry,
daughter?
powerful cry,
Ha!
really good at crying.
Not as
Um,
easy as your daughter to this point in his life?
True was like the perfect baby. Like I didn't even know, like she didn't cry like ever.
Right.
Or it'd be like a little whine and she was fine.
Yeah.
He's got, I think it's his survival instincts are very strong. That's what I'm
That's
going
good.
with.
I like that.
Yeah.
So how old is he now?
He's going to be 4 weeks on Thursday.
All right, so you
So
haven't hit him yet.
no.
Sorry.
No. I haven't.
I need to ask you
Not
about
yet.
Claressa Shields,
Yes.
because while I was immersed in UFC 263 preparation on Thursday night, you did have a PFL broadcast, and I was hearing from some people that I respect to a great extent who said it was one of the more interesting MMA contests that they have seen in a long time, just based upon the adversity that she faced early, just witnessing her hand speed and her boxing skills with small gloves in that type of setting, and then, of
Yeah.
course, watching her rally for the win. So, what do you have for our audience on Claressa Shields?
The GWOAT. For me, listen, does she have a lot to learn? There's no question about it. I think where she was making her mistake and she kept getting taken down, she was in some really tough spots. She was mounted for a large part of the fight or inside control. So she was in a lot of inferior positions. But what was so impressive is I see a lot of these people who come from striking backgrounds or even other people in grappling backgrounds for that matter who freak the F out when they're mounted or when they, and she stayed so composed.
Mhm.
Like it showed her level, not only her level of toughness, but her level as a competitor to
Mhm.
keep it together, to stay composed, to trust the process, and to find a way. That to me was the most impressive thing. And the biggest takeaway from Clarissa is that and her killer instinct. Like she would follow her up to try to finish the fight, and then she'd get reversed on the ground. It's like, oh, you heard Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn telling her, don't engage on the ground, stand it back up. And anytime she felt that she had her hurt or vulnerable, she would just try to pounce on her to try to beat her up.
Right.
So, anyways, in the end, she ended up getting it done on the ground with a brutal TKO. She was landing some brutal shots that stopped Brittany Elkin. But anytime you're able to win and learn from your mistakes, it's a great thing. But this is a champion boxer who has a champion mindset for MMA, who, is aware that she has a lot to work on, but she really did what she said she was going to do. And she said, she takes me down to the ground, I'm a dog, and
Yeah.
I'm going to stay right in this fight the whole time. So just, A-class mindset as a fighter.
And absolutely a dog. We congratulate all the winners on the PFL and UFC side. Movsar Evloev, got to shout him out. Big win over Hakeem Dawodu, undefeated fighter, and would appear to be a real featherweight problem moving forward in the UFC. And thanks to all the fans in Arizona, many of whom just wanted to talk about the Anik and Florian podcast. And nothing warms my heart when you approach me on the road and you talk about the podcast. One listener at Loaf23 did want me to address the booing crowd. Ken Flo solicited some tweets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd was loud, but not necessarily the best post-pandemic crowd. That's what Dana White said at the post-fight press conference. I would respectfully disagree. I would give Jacksonville the nod for sure. Those people were loud as hell, early arriving, no booing. There was a lot of booing going on this weekend, and I don't like the athletes to have to deal with that. But overall, another one in the can, and we will continue the UFC 263 conversation later this week on social media. But now it is time for the pronunciation of the week as we call on our executive producer, Cody Merrill. Hi, Cody.
Hello. I mean, I can't help but disagree with Dana because Houston's a much better looking crowd. I think we can agree there.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully you're enjoying the show so far, Cody. Thanks for all of your contributions to all the content. All right, pronunciation of the week. So this one is not easy. And the genesis of this, Kenny, I don't even know who the guy's fighting this weekend. I'm a little bit hurting here on a Monday morning. But I tried to voice this combo feature last week while I was in Phoenix, and I had to stop my voiceover session and just practice this name. I proceeded to say this name 65 times, 65. And then I was able to go back to the combo feature, and it was second nature to me. So now I have committed this name to memory. That being said, Cody,
Good
um,
luck.
yeah, like what do you have for us on this one?
Well, see, I'm imagining John egg weights in one hand, baseball pitcher counter in the other, just
That's right.
every time he claps down this name. Funny enough, John, this guy once tangled with Sapabek Safarov, so very interesting pronunciation matchup there.
There you go.
This is Nikolai Negumerianu.
All right, let's hear him say it.
Negumerianu Nikolai.
Outstanding. I think he gets it.
Pretty good, right?
Negumerianu.
I thought that was pretty good, man.
Great job,
the
Coach.
first name's tough. When you look at it, that's tough.
So if you're showing up on fight day, Buff, and saying Negumerianu for the first time, you are not going to get it right. The last name is 6 fucking syllables. The only way to get it right is to say it 65 times in your room. So then you show up and it's Nikolai.
Is to look up
Nikolai
similar
Negumerianu.
names in Romanian pronunciations and look them up on YouTube. That's how the prep goes to the pronunciation of the week.
Right.
People
right.
saying I'm not prepared.
Well, right. See, our
Come on,
man
guys.
TJ DeSantis, our longtime producer, God love him, but he would just kind of show up and just kind of wing it, whereas Cody's actually putting work into this. So,
He's tripping.
all right. So now you're 3-6, man, which means that in a few weeks you'll be over 500. Great stuff, brother.
I'm making a comeback, boys. Let's go.
All right. So
Let's
this
go.
weekend, live on ESPN2, it is UFC Fight Night, the Korean Zombie versus Ige. I wonder if Chan Sung Jung's father is like, can you put some respect on my name? Like, you actually took our entire name off the fight card now. Like, he's just the Korean Zombie. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get to the main event.
Mr. Zombie.
It's the main event challenge. Anik.
The time is most definitely now.
Florian.
I finish fights. I'm gonna do everything possible to win.
The main event challenge. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
All right, and now joining us to make picks for UFC Fight Night, the Korean Zombie versus Ige, is the great Ian Parker on social media at Ian Parker MMA. 73-54 for Team Anik. Differentiator this week. You guys agreed a lot last week, but Ian was on the Brandon Moreno side, and man, what a win for Brandon Moreno. Ian Parker, how you doing this morning, my brother?
I am tired, but I'm ready to rock. Maybe my exhaustion will help Kenny here a little bit, but no, you know what? That was a long night. You know, I think that extra five rounder with Nate. You know, I was saying to myself, can Nate just not be such a tough guy just one time and just go down, just to give us because Moreno did it, and I didn't think that was going to go. You know, and Adesanya was just playing with his food for 5 rounds. He just wanted that cage time. It was. Oof.
I actually think you're right about that. That last statement you made about kind of playing with his food. And I pushed out a tweet. I'm trying to find it right now, but essentially that this set the record for the most fight time in UFC history, right? So it was 3 hours, 19 minutes, and 32 seconds, right? So a pro football game is 60 minutes, right? This was 199 minutes of talking. And of course, our beloved producer, Cody Mero, tweets like, yeah, it didn't feel that long. It's like, speak for yourself, bro. You know, I mean, I went up to do the post-fight show. I was like blacked out. I felt under the influence when I went up to do that post-fight show. So I'd imagine Ian fans on the East Coast, you know, it's 3.5 football games, man.
I mean, I look, as much as I loved Nate Diaz back on this, I don't really need a non-co-main event 5-rounder. I actually think if it was 3 rounds, maybe they would have both, you know, he wouldn't have like done that whole turnaround and face his butt to him like, oh, okay, I'm going to mess with you. Like, because he knew he had 5 rounds to do it. But yeah, that was just so unnecessary. That was such an unnecessary length of time.
All right, let's get to our predictions for UFC Fight Night, the Korean Zombie versus Dan Ige. First prediction for us, Marlon Chito Vera minus 250, Davey Grant plus 195. This is a rematch. The odds are essentially flipped from that first fight. Quick story on this one, because the reason Chito and I are actually close is because of the bond that we established in a London bar after that first fight. And Cheeto was 1-2 in the UFC at the time, was worried that they were going to cut him. And I'm like, dude, Ecuador, baby, they ain't cutting you. You're 1-2. He won 3 in a row after the fact. And, wasn't because of my pep talk, but we really bonded that night, and he's won 8 of 10 since that night. Davey Grant, Ian, has dealt with myriad injuries over the years, but he is now in the best form of his career. Back-to-back bonus-winning knockouts over Martin Day and Jonathan Martinez, and that served to set up this opportunity with the ranked Cheeto Vera, who is the favorite. Ian, who do you have on this one here at 135 pounds?
Davey Grant is flying under the radar. That fight against Jonathan Martinez, I don't think anyone gave him a shot. He was taking a beating, and he just came back. And then against Day, everyone was like, oh, prospect, that matchup, and then he did it again. I don't think Lightning striking for the third time here. I think Cheeto just has too many tools. I think the growth in his journey has been shown. He's not just a tough guy. His biggest weakness is his hesitancy. I know we talk about this a lot. He takes a little while to get going, but in his last fight against Sugar Sean, he didn't. He finally stepped up, went for the leg kicks. He moved quicker. He pushed the pace. He was pressing. He has to against Davey Grant because Grant is really just going to wait for that power punch, in my opinion, or for the takedown. I think Cheeto's takedown defense is too good. I don't think he should sleep on Grant. I think Grant is sneaky good, but I do like Cheeto here.
And I believe Cheeto's last fight was against Jose Aldo and not Sean O'Malley, if I'm not mistaken.
My fault. You are correct.
Who do you have? Cheeto and Davey Grant, my man.
Yeah, listen, I like Cheeto here as well. I think he does everything a bit better than Davey Grant. Maybe power aside, Davey Grant probably has the advantage there. But yeah, I think Cheeto's better on the ground. I think he's more technical on the feet, has more weapons anyway, and knows how to use them well. And I think he's pretty deadly in the clinch as well. So I take Cheeto to win this one.
All right, let's get to the co-main event at heavyweight. Yanni the Greek's going to be on the younger fighter here. Sergey Spivak, -225. Alexei Oleinik, +175. Oleinik is set to turn 44 6 days after the fight. Last win for him, split decision against Fabricio Verdum when we all broke quarantine. That was UFC 249 last year. He's been KO'd in 2 straight. On the other side, Ian, you got Spivak. He's won 2 in a row, 3 of 4 since dropping his UFC debut to the big ticket Walt Harris. Co-main event, as such, we'll need the round and the method of victory. IP, which way you going?
What star-studded co-main event we got here. Really lighten up fight pass. Yeah, I don't know how to even take that seriously. Listen to the record of Oleinik alone. It's like, this is co-main. This is kind of funny to me.
You got 41 cards a year, bro.
I understand. I'm just saying, but in my opinion, Cheeto versus Davey Grant, I would have had the co-main with Cheeto. I kind of laugh like, Spivak, really? He's good though. He's a young prospect. I think he's talented. He's a very tall guy. I just, in his fight against Tabura, I think this would go similar that way where he gets taken down, put on his back. And I honestly, Oleinik, he may get that, the Ezekiel choke? He may get this one again. I think he goes out running into the sunset. He's going to fall to his back. The reality is this: Spivak is younger. He's more athletic. He's got to have that rangy striking. I'm going to go with him, although I will root for my boy Oleinik. I'd love to see him get a win and get out because it's just ridiculous. I hate seeing him get KO'd. But if Spivak's not careful, that choke will come out of nowhere. But I'll roll with Spivak on this one. Not comfortably, though.
How do you have him winning? Decision?
Oh, dear God. I forgot this fight. I'm going to pick a result for this fight. I'm going to go TKO. If he's going to do it, he's got to do it that way. Second round.
All right, round 2 TKO for Sergey Spivak, the polar bear. Kemflo, what do you?
Kenny doesn't even want. Kenny's just going to say whatever Ian said. Next.
No, Kenny kind of likes to pick guys born in 1977.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I'm unfortunately not going to pick the guy born in 1977 this time around. As much as I'd be cheering for him, like Ian said, I was going to go with the second round TKO, but. Let's go with first round Spivak. I think that Oleinik, obviously hasn't quite developed his striking to a high level. I do think that if he gets him to the ground, I think he can get it done. He's very persistent there and very strong. However, I think it's going to be very difficult here against the younger Spivak. So, yeah.
By the way, we are going to start adding some boxing predictions to the main event challenge. Probably only 2 of them over the course of the year. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley. You're absolutely being forced to pick Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley in August. So just get ready for that. All right, main event.
I'll give you my pick right now for that if you want. You can do it again then.
I'll take it.
He'll take it? Oh, I do Tyron Woodley.
Early? Like, to you?
Yeah. Listen, look, I will give credit to Jake Paul. He puts in the work. He's doing an unbelievable. He's a marketing wizard. Him and his brother, they may be the biggest pains in the ass on planet Earth, but look what they're doing. They're making millions of dollars, and look who they're fighting. You know, Logan Paul went the distance with Mayweather. Come on, go watch that. Mayweather knocked him out, held him up, carried it out because it made sense for Mayweather to make more money. Mayweather doesn't care. Jake Paul fighting Nate Robinson. Great. Fighting Ben Askren in a boxing match. Listen, Woodley's different. If Woodley takes this seriously and gets in good cardio shape, you're talking about a guy that was a UFC champ winning by knockouts, not just wrestling people to the ground for a long time. I think Jake Paul has talent. I think he works on his craft and takes it seriously, but this is a different level. But respect to taking an opponent a step up. That I will say. And I like Tyson Fury to do the same thing to Deontay Wilder as last time.
Tyson Fury is going to get a big bet on me. I'll just tell you that. Maybe one of the biggest bets I've placed in my life. All right, main event at featherweight. Ken Flo will have you lead here. 4th ranked Chan Sung Jung, -110. Number 8, Dan Ige, -110. A pick him here. We'll need the round and the method of victory. No reminders this time. Ige's won 7 of 8 since dropping his UFC debut. I'm just kidding. I was a lot meaner to Ray today, for the record. And that includes for Ige the 22-second knockout of Gavin Tucker in his last fight in March. Then he welcomed a son, Bam, in April. I have not called a Korean Zombie fight since February of 2017 when he KO'd Dennis Bermudez in a main event, coming off a loss in his grudge match to Brian T. City Ortega in October. And that could have resulted in a title fight for the Korean Zombie. Now he gets Dan Ige in the main event. Ken Flo, who wins it and how do they get it done?
This should be an exciting one. Listen, I think that Dan Ige is kind of a fresher version and perhaps a more powerful version than a Korean Zombie. I think that Korean Zombie, really hasn't adjusted his style too much. And a lot like Nate Diaz, he is certainly a guy who has mastered perseverance, has a tremendous chin. I think he's going to hang in there for a long time. But I do think that Dan Ige over time is going to wear down Korean Zombie. I'm not sure he throws as much volume as the Korean Zombie, but I think he's going to be more precise. I think he's going to be a little bit more accurate. I don't see Korean Zombie really taking him down or anything like that. It's possible, but let's go with Dan Ige here. Let's go with
10.
Littering and.
Let's go with decision. Let's go decision, Dan Ige.
7. All right, Ian Parker. What do you have in the main event?
I just want to say one of my favorite things to do during a PFL broadcast is text Kenny and make him laugh right before he's about to go on. It's top 3 of my favorite things during that show.
You've stopped texting me entirely except to brag about your results at the end of it.
Zero truth to that. I sent him a text. I get it 4 days later. Sorry, was 1 on 3 with dad duty. So it forced me to switch the relationship to with Kenny, and Kenny regretfully texts me back.
He's yours now, Ken Flo. He's yours now. All right, Ian. So what do you think about this?
I went from mom to dad real quick. All right. So I like Dan Ige here. Look, I think the Korean Zombie's mystique is kind of fading a little bit. I don't think his chin's what it once was. And I think that going forward, willing to take one to give one is not the best idea against someone in Ige. Ige's got that cardio for days. And he could take a shot. I don't know how much he could take from Zombie. Zombie's got that sneaky power, but I think Ige's just on a roll here. I think that knockout over Gavin Tucker is a different level of confidence. I hope that doesn't change the way he fights, though. One of those things where I get a knockout and all of a sudden I'm a boxer now and I don't need to rely on my wrestling or my pressure against the cage. But I think Ige's a smart guy, and I think he knows it's a big win no matter how he gets it done. So I'm going to say Ige. What'd you say, Kenny, by decision? I'm going to go round 4 TKO.
All right, round 4 TKO. For Dan Ige is the pick to click for Ian Parker. If you want to keep everything that the Duck has going on at Ian Parker MMA, some PFL stuff, CBS Sports Line as well. Do you guys have a PFL show on Thursday?
We do.
Ooh-wee. All right.
Yeah, there.
Ian, great stuff, buddy. Thank you.
Rory McDonald on the way back. Let's go.
You fighting Gleison Tebow? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
I'm keeping tabs.
Yeah.
Even though I have 30 more athletes to research this week. God help me.
Ian, listen, I'll say the fights have been pretty good. There's been some good events, even with some of the matchups that we didn't expect to be, with all be lopsided, been some pretty good events.
I just love your analysts, Kenny Florian. Guy's so fucking good. Take 5 years off, just fucking kills it, every week.
He does. He really does. And he gets my name right during the broadcast. I was called a different name during the show. Kenny texts me right away. Sean O'Connell during rehearsal calls me Ian Parkin. And then and he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Then we go back on. And let's go over to Jonathan Coachman and Ian Parkin. And you see him go, no. And I'm like, this. And the camera goes to me. And I'm like, just like trying to not laugh. But it's ESPN Plus. I don't know anyone who caught the first part of that. But it was fun.
Thank you, buddy. Good stuff. We will talk to you soon.
You got it, boys.
All right. That is it for the main event challenge. On the way out, I just wanted to reiterate my gratitude for all the fans in Phoenix, Arizona. We've been away from fans, Kenny, for a year and a half, and it would seem to me that our fan base has kind of grown exponentially over the year and a half, and the UFC was obviously lit when most of the sports world was dark, and just getting this warm embrace on the road, instead of people motherfucking me at every show. No, I'm just kidding. It was never that, but it's just been really nice. And again, everybody, we appreciate you supporting the podcast. If you want merch, AnikFlorianPodcast.com. FlowTube, of course, if you want to see Ken Flow's YouTube page, I would encourage you to check that out as well. And are you off to Atlantic City, New Jersey again? Is that where you're going?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow, next couple weeks. Yeah.
Do they put you like in the exact same hotel room every time you go back?
They did for the first time around. Now, this set of shows, I'll find out tomorrow. I was in a different room this time around, but the first three, all the same room.
Because I would say you could leave your mushrooms there if you were in the same room every show, All right, that's going to do it for today. Thank you to our guests, Belal, remember the name, Muhammad, Ray Longo, Jason, Anik, Ian Parker. If you would like to follow the show on our social media channels, at AnikFlorianPod, all spearheaded by the greatest executive producer in this podcasting space, Cody Merrow. Thank you all for listening, for watching. We are back with you next Monday. We will preview the main event between Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. That's a hell of a heavyweight main event coming up in a week, and obviously start to spin things forward to July 10 and Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. With all of that, congratulations to the assassin baby, Tijuana's Brandon Moreno. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. We will see you next week. Until then, don't text and drive. Yo, fucking later.